Hello there, this is Kevin Whelan, founder of WealthBuilders here to talk to you a little bit more, delve a little deeper into the concept of SSAS. Well, what is a SSAS? Well, first of all, the language Small Self-Administered Scheme. Small means less than 12 people. So it's designed for entrepreneurs, families, small groups of people getting together. So it's completely different, if you like, from the very big schemes where you join a pension from a big insurance company like L&G or Aviva and so on. And it's small because it's different from the very big schemes you could join in an employment situation like British Airways or Tesco's or something like that. So it's a very, very small piece of land, if you like, where you can operate your pension entirely on your own. So it becomes a reflection not of what's going on in the wider world of regulation, but a reflection of you and a reflection of your business. So let me bring that a little bit more to life, if I may, by giving you the 4 B's of SSAS. These are the 4 things that you can do in a SSAS, completely different to what you can do in any kind of a pension. And the 4 B's are, first of all, it's buy. Second is bridge. That's an interesting one. Third is borrow. And when you discover that, you'll realize there's incredible value there. And the 4th one is bank. So I'm going to talk you through each one in turn and try and bring the whole concept to life with a case study or two, just so that you can see it a little more. So the first concept of buy. Well, I think most people who have a pension already are buying things to make that pot worth more. And the pot is generally building or falling because of a holding in stock market investments. So people buying funds, people buying shares. Well, that's okay, but the stock market's not the only thing you can do. But in SSAS, you can buy absolutely anything. And the scary thing to realize is, in fact, there are no restrictions to what you can buy in a pension scheme if it's held in a SSAS with you as the trustee. The interesting thing you have to recognize, though, is some things you can buy are taxable and some things are not taxable. If you get it wrong, the tax charge is pretty severe at 55%, so you don't want to be wrong. So the 2 things to avoid, only 2, so pretty easy. Number 1, don't buy things you can personally enjoy. So I'm talking about if you can ride it like a horse, you can drive it like a Ferrari, you can sail it like a yacht, you can stick it on your girlfriend's finger like a diamond ring, you can wear, no, you can't do any of those things. If you do, you could buy them, but you get a tax charge. And the second one is the direct purchase of residential property. Now, hear me loud and clear when I say the direct purchase, because those of you who are interested in property and residential in particular, there are some indirect ways that you can acquire that property, and I'll come back to that during the case studies. So let's get ahead and deal with the concept of buy and bring that to life with a case study. So I want to talk to you about one of our clients called Simon. Now, Simon actually is very experienced in the world of property. So he's bought some properties, he's getting an income stream from that, sees that as a pathway to building his wealth. But of course, in his previous life, he'd accumulated a number of workplace pensions, let's say, from different jobs and different companies he'd been with. They were on the stock market, they were doing what stock markets do. He was frustrated with that, as many people are, particularly with the markets riding high right now, and who knows where they'll go. And he wanted to do something different. So what we did in his case is took the 3 pensions, consolidated them all into one scheme. He has a limited company, so we're able to do a SSAS. And what was he able to do with that? Well, in fact, what he did is he did something pretty dramatic. He bought a pub and converted that pub into apartments, or flats in fact, which he then sold. And what's remarkable about that is, first of all, he was able to leverage his own money. So the money he had in the pension, worth around 120, he was able to leverage that, because if you buy property, you can leverage property. So he bought a commercial property, a pub, and he converted that. And that's all possible within a SSAS. And the return he gained was around 25% on his money. Comparing that to what he's getting in the stock market, it's a pretty dramatic result. And of course, he could do that again and again and again. So it's a repeatable model that he could work with. So I think from our buying perspective, he was making profits that he was banking back into the pension scheme, so his pension scheme was accelerating apace. And that's a good result for him. The next interesting one is we call bridge. Now, a bridge is a span between two places, isn't it, really? It's a, you know, if you're seeing on one side, you see something on the other, and a bridge is the gap between the two, and how you create a construct to make that happen. And it's very common, the concept of bridging in the world of property, in the world of property finance. And bridging companies exist to allow those who've got a project and want to start it to finish that project. Usually it's expensive, could be 1% a month, those sorts of figures, and with fees. And if you've got money in a SSAS, then you can become a bridging company. You can lend your money to others, and as a result of that, you can generate very high returns on your money with great security as well. But a twist on that I think is very interesting and bring that to life is in my When Sally Met Ali story. It's a great story of two people who saw value in coming together. So we have Sally, who is a very experienced person in a career, but frustrated with her career, realizing that she is not likely to be able to achieve long-term wealth from the job, trading time for money. And she wants to get into property, but doesn't have the time yet and doesn't quite know how. On the other hand, we have Ali, who's experienced in property, has a number of HMOs. I think she'd got 5, her target was 10, and she was on number 5, but you know, property's expensive, and of course she'd run out of cash to be able to continue that property journey. So what do you think happened there, maybe? Well, in fact, what happened is Sally converted her pension into a SSAS, and that allowed her then to lend money to Ali, and the context there is that both parties gained from that transaction fundamentally. So what did Sally get? Well, apart from a good relationship with Ali, they're now friends, which is really cool, Sally got an 8% return on her money. And she was pretty happy with that, because in addition to that return, backed by the security of property, she was also able to get a learning experience, what I would call a double ROI. So ROI number 1 was the return on the investment, in this case 8%. The ROI number 2 is the learning, a return on her intellect, so that she learns more about what Ali does and either decides to lend again to keep her money growing, or in fact she might want to learn with a view to doing something about that in the future. So she's equipping herself to be a better investor and a more able wealth builder moving forward. And I think if you look at the returns for her at 8% plus learning, that's a good return. Well, what did Ali get? Well, she's getting 15% on her HMOs, so 15% return for Ali, for Ali, and 8% for Sally. They're two really great returns compared to, let's think what was happening before. So Sally had a pension not working very hard, Ali couldn't move forward, put them both together, and there's an incredible leverage that's happening inside there too. So bridge is a really great strategy for both sides. The borrow strategy is a unique option only available in SSAS. The borrow strategy in SSAS allows you as the owner of a limited company to borrow up to 50% of the value in your pension pot. So if you've got 200,000, you can borrow 100. If you've got $500,000, you can borrow 250. So uniquely in SSAS, it allows the business owner to make and get access to their own money. So here's a case study to bring that to life for you. So Stuart, who previously had final salary benefits, but had got some experience in property as well. He was 50 years of age with a wife and 2 kids. And he was comparing whether he wanted to take the final salary benefit, which was $10,000 a year at his age 60, with, on the event of his death, $5,000 a year for his spouse, and nothing to the children once they reach a certain age. And he wasn't happy with that. And he took some advice, so you know it's really important when looking at these sorts of things, you take professional advice, which he did, and he preferred the option of the transfer value. Now, transfer values have never been higher with interest rates being low. There's sort of an inverse relationship between transfer values and interest rates. So when transfer values are the highest is when interest rates are the lowest, which is really just about now. So the transfer value in his case, in Stuart's case, was $300,000. So he decided that it would be better for him It will be better for the family, and it would be much better for the legacy if he took that money and made that work now, way before 60. So he had access to that money now. So what did he do? Is he created a loan of £150,000, leveraged that loan, in other words, raised additional borrowing, and what he was able to do was buy some accommodation, serviced apartments rather in this case, and he was able to generate a substantial return on his money, an income now into the business rather than waiting till 60, and an incredible legacy for the kids. Because remember, in the wife's case, she was going to get half the pension, the kids were going to get nothing. So now those properties will belong to him, and if he dies, they will belong to his wife and family, and if she dies, the properties will continue in the names of the children as well. So an incredible value for everyone in this case, and he was thrilled with that outcome. And the final option within SSAS is the option known as bank. Now, the concept of bank is really interesting because in 2015, the government changed the way that we can access our pensions from age 55, and SSAS is no different. But of course, what's good about SSAS is because you can control all the decision making yourself, because uniquely you are the trustee, then you can tap into that. So at 55, for example, you can take 25% tax-free, same as anybody else. But in addition to that, you could also do the loan back, what I mentioned before, in the borrow category. So if you combine the borrowing and the tax-free cash, so 50% loan back, 25% tax-free, essentially means you can get access to 75% of the money inside your pension, and you can get access to that outside of the pension. So you've got access, control and use of that money at any time you wish. So I hope that's been a useful summary of how you can actually use a SSAS. With the buy strategy, the bridge strategy, the borrow strategy and the bank strategy, you've got complete control, almost like 4 lanes in use on a motorway, which will get you there much quicker than the traditional buy-only strategy and buy-only stock strategy of a traditional pension. I look forward to any questions that you may have on SSAS in the future.